are. Without objection.
Thank you.
Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to executive session to resume consideration of the following nomination, which the clerk will report.
Nomination, the judiciary, Vernon D. Oliver of Connecticut, to be United States District Judge for the District of Connecticut.
Senator from Connecticut is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very pleased and proud to speak to my colleagues today about Vernon Oliver, whose nomination is before us. We will vote on it shortly. I anticipate that he will be approved, and I hope it will be with bipartisan support, because Vernon Oliver represents exactly the kind of jurist, lawyer, public servant whom we want on the federal bench. Judges on our federal trial courts are often the face and voice of justice. All too often, litigants are there for justice, and it is the end of the road for them, one way or the other, because they don't have the resources to appeal to the courts of appeals, which sit in other states, far away often, requiring expenditure of resources. And so that district judge sitting in the court where often they live is the person who represents justice, the face and voice of justice for them. Vernon Oliver is exactly the kind of person who will be trusted to give justice. He grew up in Bridgeport, not a lot in his home in the way of financial resources, worked hard, went to the University of Connecticut for his BA and then for his JD. University of Connecticut prepared him for a life of public service, and that's what he has done with a brief break for private practice and as a temporary assistant clerk for the Hartford Judicial District. He joined the Connecticut Division of Criminal Justice, serving in the office of the Chief State's Attorney and then as a prosecutor in the Bristol Superior Court. And then I had the great honor to hire Vernon Oliver to be an assistant attorney general. And I say I had the great honor because when I knew him first, when I met him, I knew he was the kind of person who would be a really superior, extraordinary assistant attorney general. He went to work in the Child Protection Unit, which essentially tries to protect children from abuse and neglect, tries to hold families together or reach some resolution when there is violence or other kind of dispute that divide them. And here's what I learned about Vernon Oliver. He has a strong mind, he has a big heart, and he has a passion for justice. He handled dozens, hundreds, thousands of those cases over the time that he served as an assistant attorney general. And each one of them required him to focus his mind and his heart and that passion for justice. And he took every one of them seriously. The same seriousness for every one. They are often extremely demanding, not just intellectually, but emotionally. And he stepped up, he showed the fiber of his character. He was nominated in 2009 to be a judge on the Connecticut Superior Court. His nomination was done by a Republican governor, Jody Rell. And throughout his 15 years on the bench, he's presided over numerous civil and criminal cases, including approximately 30 bench trials, approximately 20 jury trials, thousands of hearings. So you don't really need to listen to me about Vernon Oliver. You can go to his colleagues, the legal community in Connecticut. A group of Connecticut attorneys, many of whom have practiced in front of Judge Oliver, wrote that he has, quote, an exceptionally keen legal mind, end quote, and is, quote, committed to the fair and impartial administration of justice, end quote. The George W. Crawford Black Bar Association noted that, quote, Judge Oliver's decisions are well-reasoned and thoughtful, and that, quote, put simply, he is a phenomenal judge. He's a phenomenal person, not just an extraordinary judge. And that's why Connecticut State Representative Christy Carpino, a Republican, wrote this to the committee, our committee, the Judiciary Committee. Judge Oliver's breadth of knowledge in both criminal and civil law, as well as the diversity of his judicial assignments, makes him uniquely qualified to be appointed to the federal bench, end quote, and that, quote, he has the demeanor one could only hope all jurists possess. I take this time to talk to my colleagues because I think we need to be mindful of a standard of excellence on our federal bench. I thank and commend President Biden for this nomination because he's recognized the importance of diversity as well as high performance intellectually, and he has enabled us, I think, to raise that standard. Judge Oliver is a perfect example of how that standard, and he is the gold standard, we are seeking to achieve, and I believe we are achieving when we confirm him and others who have those same qualities. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.